back to Primary Source China Investment. Pungo and I are here this week talking a little bit more about trade. And this week, it's Japan-China trade. There's been plenty of talk about China manufacturing and all of the excess capacity and those type of things. So you don't need us to tell you that. But as China is the largest exporter and has been for the better part of 2 decades, despite a recent declining growth rate in exports, it's important to look at what China imports and who is exporting into China. So this week, it's Japan, because Prime Minister Kishida was in Washington, and we thought it'd make a lot of sense to talk about that. And there are 3 takeaways this week. And the first one is, currently, China is the largest export market for Japan. That's probably going to change next year or in 2024. 2, Japan is revving up as an arms exporter. And 3, whatever you think of the Fukushima water dump, bans don't work, just as we covered last week in Australia. So let's take the first point. The numbers are skewed a little bit with pre and post-COVID because there was a ramp up in exports from China, and there was a ramp up from imports and those type of things. But we're beginning to see some normalization. Here's a 5-year chart of Japanese exports to China. Despite some seasonality, there always is, there's a positive growth rate. 2024 has also seen a jump in January and February. But Japan's export to China isn't growing as fast. And the reason is cars. We've covered cars a lot. China is the largest auto exporter on the planet, surpassing Japan in 2023. And so far in 2024, Japan auto exports to China rose just 2.5%, and those to all of Asia edged up about 2.3% year on year, suggesting that demand may have moderated. I mean, it's pretty obvious. There's a lot of new automobiles in China. However, exports to the United States rose 18%, and exports to the EU were up almost 16%. On the ground, China is making a lot of cars in China for the domestic market. We hear a lot about the export side, but China's beefing up its own market, obviously.
I think and that's probably we talk about the chip war before. So China make US make the sections for the export of the high-tech chips, and which is really a great helper to force China improve their manufacturing or advance in the high-tech area. So I think this is also related to the Japan's export to China with the semiconductor manufactured equipments, as well as with the clean energy cars market get merged in China, and that's a lot of the auto related parts, and even the Japanese cars exported to China get sold. Generally speaking, Japan exported to US like the 1.4 trillion Japanese yen, same a little bit higher than the China 1.25 Japanese yen, but almost the double size than exported to the Europe. So it's really the China market is very important for the Japanese market. And also, I think the Tokyo just make an announcement with another company working with Huawei to in the smart car area.
Yeah, I mean, autos are going to be interesting. There's no doubt. There's plenty of ink. You don't need us to tell you. But tangentially, I just read that Volkswagen's investing another 2.5 billion euro into its China operations in Hefei. I'll probably take the field on that bet. I don't know if that's going to be great or work out for Volkswagen, but we'll be watching that. The second point we started off the show with was military exports are expected to explode, pardon the pun. And none of that is going to go to China. So Japan is definitely beefing up its exports. And the reason that is a number of legislative changes have occurred over the past 20 years or so. And that began in maybe 15 years. That began in 2011 when Prime Minister Noda eased the restrictions in order to permit joint development of weapons with countries that cooperate with Japan. And then 2014, Shinzo Abe enabled the export of military equipment for such uses as rescue and transport, surveillance, and a whole bunch of other things. And then in just December and a few weeks ago, Prime Minister Kishida approved exporting domestically produced weapons under license, which means, Japan is going to be able to export its new technology to countries that are friendly with Japan. I'm trying to say this as eloquently as possible here, but you can see that this is going to be the UK, Italy, and the US. A recent cabinet decision on March 26 permitted the export of next generation fighter aircraft, and that's going to the UK and Japan. Currently, Japan runs a trade surplus with the US. Expect other countries to follow as Japan's overall trade deficit shrinks. Export from Japan is going to grow despite what either of the economies are going to doing, because there's a business of war and business is good.
Yeah, Japan is really taking advantage of the current US and China relationship. So they just expanded the military-related business as well as the product. No matter which side is win or lose, it looks like they always can win.
Yeah, that's what if you listen to any of the Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, it's the military-industrial complex is constantly making money. I mean, that's not our area. We're going to move on from that. So the third point is import bans don't work. And we covered this last week when we talked about Australia, and just want to talk about the seafood ban, right? You can remember Fukushima, there was a big row about Japan dumping, water, whether it was cleaned or not cleaned. Let's not get into that. But the Chinese government banned seafood from Japan, and other markets stepped in. Specifically the U.S. government stepped in and bought a ton of seafood. And it turns out seafood actually is at an all-time high for export. Hong Kong actually stepped in when China stepped away. And years ago it was Wagyu beef and anime cartoons. These kind of bans don't work. There's a number of reasons why the Chinese government bans. The seafood was maybe to protect the citizens.
Yeah, seafood is the most annoying things for them. So this is the water get polluted. The first thing they always try to export those polluted seafood to China. Obviously, we don't know which one get clean, which one is a problem. So just ban all of them. I absolutely agree with that. And most of my friends even significantly reduced to eat the seafood in all the seafood. So that's a really sad thing for most of the people. So you always not feel good while you enjoying the seafood.
Well, as a vegan, I don't enjoy seafood, but that's my own preference. But
yeah, you want to get an impact.
Yeah, so I think the point here is, when the government implements bans, the market does respond. It may not be easy. There is definitely friction. There's periods of stress for the producers, but if there's a market, the markets will find it. And that's
they export to the Europe and they make the Europe seafood product export to China. And right now,
that's
really
a third country, right? I mean that happens.
Yeah.
So I think the takeaway here is that you can't stop trade. A lot of discussion as we kicked off the show talk about China's overcapacity. Well, we're going to find out. Prices may plummet. New markets have to be discovered. All of that is going to happen. There's no doubt about it. Because if you're a manufacturer, what do? You manufacture. I mean, that's your business. So you're in the widget making business. You're going to be making widgets. So.
Yeah, I think that's different point. Like a red wine, you export other market, but the polluted seafood.
But there's an open debate about that, right?
Yeah.
There's an open debate about the level of toxicity in the sea. I mean, I have no idea. Again, I don't eat any of it, but it's a point of debate. So I think we're going to leave it there with show L6. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.